everyone. Welcome back to Real Management Talk with LJ and Jocelyn. These are real talks that we've been having for years around different nonprofit business subjects and things that you can learn, we're hoping, to improve your nonprofit business. And so today, we're nurturing our minds with great thoughts. And today, LJ and I are having great thoughts around how to make yourself sexy to grant funders. So, LJ,
absolutely.
What do you think about that? I mean, you know, because really we do, right? We got to make ourselves sexy as organizations to grant funders to get them to fund us. Don't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And welcome again, everyone. Absolutely. Okay. We're going to talk today about the matchmaking exercise that grant writing is. Okay. You have got to, as Jocelyn has just shared, you have got to be attractive. Okay. And normally we think about grant attractivity in three features. We think about it in terms of strategic fitness. We think about it in terms of your mission. And we also think about it in terms of your commitment to getting the work done, right? That intentionality that we talk about, a lot of words that you see being said quite often and quite frequently nowadays, but very few people actually commit to getting the work done. You know why? Because as Jocelyn and I can tell you, being worker bees is not sexy, okay? But being worker bees produces sexy results, and that's what it's about. What do you think, Jocelyn?
Oh, no, I totally agree with you, right? So as worker bees, we can produce really sexy results to get funded, to help the organization that we're working for get funded. Or your grant writer, if you have one on staff, for instance, you know, help get funded, volunteer, whatever, right? But, you know, this whole... Guys, it's like a marriage match, or think of it as dating. You know, that application is like your first date, or sometimes your second date, depending on which way the funder wants things, right? But you have one shot to make a good impression and to show that you are a match, that in other words, you'd be a good prospect to marry with, because sometimes as an organization, what we're asking for, right, can be multi-year even. Or even if it's just a one-year grant, that funder might like you enough that it turns into a 10-year marriage, you know. So it's really, really important, right, that we be able to cultivate and what's that old-fashioned word? Court properly our prospective grant spouse.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I love that you said that, because there is no permanence in the grant writing realm, right? In the grant writing world, there's no permanence, but what you can do to make sure that your relationship lasts as long as possible, just like in any other relationship, is to ensure that there are immediate returns, right? Part of that marriage, part of the matchmaking process is really being intentional about guaranteeing results in immediate timeframes, really. Like, you know, Jocelyn is saying, a lot of your grants are going to be requiring you to comply to requirements that are going to, you know, span across multiple years. But then the opposite is true as well, right? A lot of those grant opportunities, especially in this climate, are going to be short solicitations. They're going to be asking you to get in and out, sometimes within just a year. And so when you have those types of situations, that means really that the immediacy, the sense of urgency that you have to have it cannot be overstated. You've got to be very clear and intentional about getting that work done so that you can have those sexy results as soon as possible.
Right. Well, and so let's talk about that. But, you know, because I think that our audience would really like to know, you know, what do we mean about that? So for one thing, so let's talk about the first thing that you have to have ready to go. Now, most nonprofits, at least in my experience, I'm not going to say all, and everybody who's listening, I'm not going to say all of you, but an awful lot of the ones that I've worked with over the last almost 25 years, I think, however long I've worked with them, what I find is most of them are actually not grant ready. And the very first thing, especially in today's climate, that a funder wants to see is, can you produce 2 to 3 years worth of financials, and have you been in business at least that long? And that's really important. They want to see, are you getting donations from the outside? Or, you know, and how are you getting them? Could they be individuals through events, whatever it is? Because they don't want to fund you, quite honestly, if they don't think you're going to be around next year after they hand you money to do whatever you just courted them for to do, right? Mm-hmm. So what would you say?
Absolutely. No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, you know, you made an excellent point there. And the reality is that, you know, that 3-year minimum is pretty common across the board at this point, from the federal, state, local, municipal, or private foundational grant perspectives. That 3-year minimum is serious. But then on top of that 3-year minimum, like you said, those financial statements have got to be audited. Okay. If you have not gotten an audit on the programmatic side of the house, you know, your financial side, the organizational side, the perspective of the organization, if you haven't gotten those audits done, please make sure that you get that done. You know why? One part of being sexy is being, I guess we could say, confident, but also having a good reputation. And you cannot be sexy if you don't have a reputation for being sexy. And part of that reputation is having professionals come in and essentially appraise your value, okay? And also appraise the work that you've done to make sure that the work that you've done has been ethical, it's been transparent, it's been, you know, truly best practice, and it's been something that is going to sustain you for many years to come. Like Jocelyn's been saying, you know, we want to make sure if we're going to give you money as a grantor, that money is just not going to, you know, be spent mismanaged or misallocated. We're going to want your audited financials so that we know that you've got a track record of spending funds as according to what they were scoped or contracted for.
Correct. So now we've got 1 and 2, because we have the being able to produce 3 years worth of financials and that you've been in business for 3 years, because if you can do that, you've just proven you've been in business for 3 years. We have the audit that proves that you're doing things in accordance with any contracts or grants or funder mandated, donor mandated things. You're spending well, you're not overspending. Your operations costs are, you know, within norms and all of that. Now, number 3 really is a good, strong program design, not something that's just haphazard thrown together because you just saw that grant application in what I call the spaghetti or shotgun approach. Although I like the spaghetti approach, the thought of throwing us against the wall, right? But and then you're throwing it together to meet it, but that your program truly matches up with what the funder says is important to them. That's another important dating, courting ritual in the grant world, right? Get that spouse.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's really looking at, you know, and I know we're going to go ahead and close this out because we've held you guys long enough. But one of the biggest things to keep in mind too are those aspects of mission creep. A lot of times, a part of the grant writing matchmaking experience is ensuring that your mission and that grantor's or the grant making institution's missions align at the time that you're seeking, you know, grant support. If your mission is a little, you know, if it could be categorized as mission creep, you may not get the support from that particular funder because they want to make sure that you are very clear on what it is that you're working to get done, but also that they can really get you to those immediate results as soon as possible, without having to waste a lot of, well, not waste, but without having to wait and invest a lot of money to get there.
Right? That's exactly correct. So guys, we've given you 4 tips. There's actually more, but we've given you the 3-year, and you bench that, mark that by 3 years of financials. We've given you the audit. We've given you the strong program. And number 4 is mission match. And we'll catch you next time on Real Management Talk with LJ and Jocelyn. Bye, all.
Goodbye.